coming?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I will message her, but we will get started in the meantime. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Welcome to the March Dover Trails and Recreation Committee meeting. Let's open it up to public comments. Does anyone have public comments? All right, I see none. Okay. Any additions or changes to the agenda? I see none.
Nope,
I
you have
need-
one.
Oh, what?
You're moving something up on the agenda.
No, we just decided we're not going to do that because
Oh,
Tommy
all
said
right.
that Tommy said that he's ready to rock and roll with that.
Sorry.
Tommy, that may mean that you miss a potential vote. Are you okay? Are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Then we will just keep moving forward. Okay, so we're going to hammer through some little items quick, and then we're going to get into a couple of potentially bigger ones. We did receive word back on the Ursa Grant, okay, which was the smaller of the two recreation grants that the town and SOVTA had originally put the LOIs in. The town moved forward with the Ursa Grant when we got the full application invitation. Unfortunately, we were not able to secure that Ursa Grant for $30,000 for the expansion of the parking lot at the town forest. That being said, there were 65 organizations that were invited to submit full applications. 12 of those received money. And looking through the list of projects that did receive that money, a lot of them were, I don't want to say more impactful because I think we understand the importance of the expansion of our parking lot, but I think I will say they are more impactful for the areas where they're going to be used. So congratulations to them. It's unfortunate we didn't get it, but we are fortunate enough with our 1% to be able to move forward with that project as we come into the spring anyway. So, win some, lose some, we'll move forward and get that done this spring. Okay, any questions on that? All right. Trail counters. So I placed the order. We now are the proud owners of 4 Trafix infrared trail counters, along with some very cool waterproof boxes and silica packets and batteries and all the stuff that we need to kind of get those out there on the trail. So, Andy and I, through the town, are working on, when we can get those out there. Obviously, we've got to let the ground loosen up a little bit. We're going to take some posts out there and get those set up at a few locations around town so that as we're making these awesome additions and changes and renovations and new projects, we can kind of keep track of the traffic using those properties. Okay. Any questions on that? Oh, wow. Easy group tonight. Okay. On to a potentially more broad topic. Kristen had reached out to me, had received word from a concerned trail user that the opening portion of the Crosstown Trail that is multi-use, okay, and shared by skiers, snowshoers, snowmobilers, hikers, bikers, everybody, that the signage there may not be sufficient during snowmobile season to kind of remind our gas-powered friends to slow down a little bit. Okay, so it was requested that we bring it up at the meeting to kind of talk. Matt, Paul, I think, Mike's here. If any of you guys have any recommendations for us on signage that could possibly go there to kind of reiterate that is a shared use trail in that section and not necessarily just for snowmobiles. Where the response, and Kristen, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I was told that, when a snowmobiler was spoken to, it was like, hey, there's a sign back there that says this is a mixed use trail. And he kind of said, yeah, I'm going so fast, I can't read any of that stuff on my way by. So we would like to know, I'm looking for input from any of my stump jumper or snowmobile enthusiasts or other trail users as to kind of how we can, modify or get some signage in there that might be a little more impactful so that we're not jeopardizing any of the user groups that are trying to use that trail during the winter months. Anybody have any thoughts and or opinions?
So Eric, it's Mike Garber. I just want to know which trail entrance are we talking about?
Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the first section of the Crosstown Trail.
Yeah, we're coming around the beaver pond.
So we're talking about snowmobiles coming in from either the power lines to the south or from Crosstown Road by the golf course.
Correct.
Correct.
By the beaver. I mean, we can find signs at both junctions before they enter the golf course and or by the power lines where they funnel into that exact spot. If you think that'll help, we can put them out there. I'd be more concerned if it was more than one person, but you know, I really can't speak to one person.
Right. And to be honest with you, Mike, it's not, for every one person that talks to me on any given issue in economic development, it's usually 10 or 15 more that haven't said anything, right? So I just want, my idea here was to put it in front of the group. Let's have this conversation before it turns into something that it's not, or before, like, you know, like, let's just nip it in the bud so that we're not dealing with something like this down the road. And we kind of cover our own butts from all sides to say like, hey, we had what we thought was appropriate signage up there to kind of address, you know, this situation. So
have any of you guys walked the Crosstown Trail this year?
I have not been out
Okay.
this month. No, I see Julia is nodding yes.
Julia, how many snowmobiles have you encountered out there?
None.
None. Okay. I mean,
But this has
can't
been a
even-
light winter too, I think, right?
Yeah, it's over. I mean, the snowmobile season is over. So, you know, if we're going to try to do something for next year,
Yep.
you know, what we can ask our riders who come in from everywhere into those Crosstown trails. They come in from Woodford, Jacksonville. You know, it's going to be a much busier year next year. I really, you know, we can try to do as much as we can. If anyone has suggestions, you know, we'll obviously.
Mike, I do see, I'll get you, and Kristen as well. I do see you guys. I'll get to you in just a second. And Mike, again, this was not, you know, we're just, like I said, we're just trying to think ahead here. I know that the season's over at this point, almost, you know, unless barring any, you know, 130-inch marches like we had a few years ago, you know, we're probably done with snowmobiling. But we're just trying to think ahead so that as we come into, you know, next season and stuff, we're kind of prepared to deal with that. And it's not, you know, we're not slapping hands. We're not calling anybody out. We're just saying like, what can we put up there for signage that might make it a little more visible and clear for all the users that that is a multi-use trail, so that snowmobilers know there could be a hiker, and vice versa, cross-country skiers know that there could be a snowmobile coming through, right? So it's not just for snowmobiles, it's for all the user groups to understand that that section of the trail is in fact multi-use. Mike, I think you were first, and then Kristen after that.
Yeah, I just think signage for all. I think there are a number of organizations that have like trail etiquette, you know, kind of items, because, you know, I understand where, I mean, imagine all of us when we're driving on the dirt roads and the folks are walking in the center of the road and they're irritated with you in the car. And you kind of go, well, but you're in the road, you know? So they know they should be moving over. So the same would apply for trail users. So if there's something that can be done to indicate, you know, who's using it and where they should be, you know, over to the side or speeds or whatever, it's just that particular stretch is such an opening for all of the non, you know, motorized guys, that if you can cool those people off, then people just don't get bent out of shape. That's all. I mean, we see that, you know, I guess over at Hogback, same thing, you know, just, we can just let people know. Otherwise, if you don't let them know, then they can always use the card that says, well, I didn't know. Yeah, I think it can be minimized pretty easily. And you're always going to have some, you know, knuckleheads that, you know, are knuckleheads, but at least the good guys can point. Yeah,
From all
yeah,
users.
exactly. I mean, the people that don't move over, or the people that, you know, are equally disrespectful on either sides of the combustion engine. But I think that is a hot spot that she's talking about for sure.
Awesome. Kristen, you had a comment, question? Oh,
And I missed the part, I have an unstable internet connection, so this may not come through clearly. And I missed the part, Eric, where you were talking about, I think the signs with words on them are ineffective just because people can't read them when they're going by even at 15 miles an hour. But to wherever there's signposts where the snowmobilers have directionals, even like VT 100 north, south, whatever, that we plug in just something there that shows, you know, the universal symbol for a hiker or for a cross-country skier or for a snowmobiler, just on those posts. And there's the same thing on the Valley Trail. At those intersections, there are posts with the Valley Trail sign on it, with just a lot of words. And I can't imagine anybody, I can't read them when I go by on my bike at 10 miles an hour. So that was just my thought around that. And I would say that area in particular is bad. But I have had the same issue on the airport loop trails in the past when it was a good season.
yep. Yeah, and we appreciate you know, bringing it to our attention, Kristen. Like I said, for every one person that does speak up, there's, you know, 20 that don't. So you know, we like to hear stuff like this because it helps us to make things better and easier and move forward, right? So maybe what I'll do with this then, oh, Matt, you had your hand up, sorry.
Yeah, I think we can definitely come up with something alerting everybody that it is a multi-use trail for the skiers and fat bikers and snowmobiles, to let everybody know that there are snowmobiles on the trails and there will be hikers in the way. I don't know if we're talking about imposing a speed limit in that area or just making everyone aware that it is multi-use.
I don't know that we're at a speed limit spot. I think, you know, if we just at least get some signage up there explaining this, you know, that kind of better describes what that section is like. Hopefully that's kind of like a self-imposed speed limit going through there. Like, oh, there could potentially be a hiker in the middle of the trail up here, and I know that, so I should maybe not do 100 through, you know, whatever. But I don't. Let's start with some, like Kristen was saying, maybe some signage that just kind of gives like the universal sign for like a skier, hiker, whatever. We'll get those on some of those pre-existing posts and try to address the situation that way. And then, you know, from there, again, we really won't know about the effectiveness of this until next year, right? So we get the signs up for next year, and then we have to wait and see if, you know, what the feedback is from that before we think about a speed limit or any other, you know, situation there. So I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to try to impose a speed limit through that section right now, but I just wanted to bring it to the group's attention that we should be thinking about some signage there just to try to remedy that situation. Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, we're cooking through. I guess I can't add anything now, right, Shannon? Because I forgot.
Well, you could go back and do the minutes,
Oh, we're gonna hop. Okay,
which I
so
texted you
first-
about a while ago that you
Yes.
skipped.
I'm in the zone here, so I missed your text. I'm sorry. First, we're going to go back to item 2, additions and changes. I'm going to make one addition to the agenda, and that is just to let you all know. I believe on the agenda for this upcoming Tuesday at the select board meeting, we will be having a discussion about camping in town-owned parking lots. It's become an issue this winter with some of our friends who have modified vans and things like that, you know, parking at trailheads and parking lots. So just, there's going to be a pretty broad discussion, most likely Tuesday night, about how we address those types of things and how we want to look at that situation moving forward. So if anyone's interested in that conversation, by all means, please keep an eye out for the select board agenda and attend the Tuesday night select board meeting. So now we will go back to minutes. Thank you, Shannon. My lovely assistant director keeps me on track. We are going to, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 8th Trails and Dover Trails and Recreation meeting? So Patricia makes a motion. Can I get a second? Mike, you were right on it. Mike, seconds. All in favor? 1, 2, 3.
Aye.
Matt? Aye, Tommy, Matt, everybody. Okay, we're good. Okay. So now we're supposed to hop through the process docs. I sent the revised documents back out that Sarah Shippey was so kind to go through and kind of make the changes that we were looking for, and then Julia after her to help with tidying up any of the rest of the spelling, grammar, formatting stuff. So how are we feeling about these documents at this point? I get a thumbs up from Mike, Kristen, Matt, Patricia, any thoughts, any comments? Tommy?
I'm good.
Tommy's good. Patricia?
It could just be my computer, but are they written in 2 different colors, black and then like this light orange? Because the light orange is hard to read.
Yeah, I understand that. So what that was is when I wrote these lovely documents, I repeated myself multiple times, and also used a lot of the same words over and over and over again. So when Sarah went through them, she was kind enough to make those edits, additions, and changes for me. What you're seeing in orange and I have here in red is anything that Sarah changed in the document from the original. And what that was intended to do was like, so that you guys had the original, you could take it next to the copy she sent us and say, okay, this has been updated, this has been adjusted. So when the document is finalized and to be sent to our select board to be approved, hopefully, all of that will be back in black and finalized. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'm sorry, I heard somebody start.
Yep, it's Matt here.
Hey, Matt.
About the section that talks about contacting landowners when you're doing a project on their property and having a town representative has to be in contact with them. And
Yep. So you'll see that this document was actually changed to explain that that is only the case when it is a town project or when it is a project that runs into a town-owned property. Okay, so if you're trying to say come out of, say we had a snowmobile trail on Horace Hill and you wanted to come out of there or go into there from, let's say, Dover Watch. Okay, that's a situation where we want to be with you or be the ones to contact Dover Watch because it is a project and a property that directly affects a town-owned property. The other time that that kicks in is when we've given you money to complete said project. Okay, so if you come, you ask for money to get a project done, or you're asking for money to get a project done, we would like to be in contact with the property owners so that it's not, there's no gray area as to what's been said or who's been contacted, because technically when we're paying for those types of projects, we're going to be liable for the things that happen with them. Okay, so if we don't make that contact with the property owners and then, we give you the money, you complete the project, and then they come to us after and say, wait a minute, you paid for a project on our property that we're not going to let you use now. That doesn't work for us. So Sarah did update that language in there to explain, kind of what the stipulations are for that landowner contact. if you're talking about like, you have permission from landowner on the left and landowner on the center, and you need to go talk to landowner in the middle, I mean, on the right, and you need to go talk to landowner in the middle about connecting your snowmobile trail, and it's not connected to a town property, by all means, reach out to the property owner. I'm not trying to inhibit, the contact with property owners. It's just in the past, there's been some confusion about the town's involvement in a project or who's running the project on behalf of the town and things like that. So when it comes to the town money or the town properties, like, we would like to be involved in that property owner contact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, is that just for like if we were trying to build a new trail, and or does that apply if we're gonna go in and just do maintenance, brush removal on our trails that already are existing?
No, I'm not looking for, and that falls under the other section, right? Like, like general maintenance of said trails, brush removal, trail clearing, things like that. I'm not as concerned about. I'm talking more for like new projects or major expansion of existing projects.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if there's any questions about any of these things, even after they're implemented, it's literally an email or a phone call to my office for 2 seconds, and I say, no, you're good, go ahead. We need to start piping these things through one central point so that we don't have people coming from all sides on every project. And like, that's the type of stuff that's going to end up frustrating users and landowners and people giving us money, and it starts to wear on people. So I think if we have that one central point of contact, especially, like for the things that are outlined for that central point of contact, that's what I'm shooting for. Okay. So again, it's as easy as a phone call, an email. Shannon and I are very quick to respond to our correspondences. Okay. So, you just reach out, you're going to have your answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, you had a question. You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, just to use that example again, let's just say it seems like a great idea to go across Dover Watch. So would I or whoever call you and say, hey, Eric, can we go talk to this guy and ask him if they would consider it? Is that how it's supposed to work?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because I mean, rather than saying we propose this great idea, what do you think, pal? It's a lot easier to ask what they think before you propose something, and you just want to be present or have a representative from the town with you when you establish contact, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Because then it removes the he said, she said. It removes any variables that could potentially come back to sink the project, stop the project, stall the project, any of those things. So we're part of the original conversation. From there, like, we can, myself and whoever's trying to head the project can come to the, conclusion, like, okay, we're good with the contact that was made there. So if I have to reach out to them, I'm allowed to do, or not allowed, but I'm okay to do that now, based on the initial conversation that economic development was a part of. Okay. Any other questions on the process for proposed projects document? This is the one that we've been able to spend the most time on so far. Wow. A speechless trails committee. I don't know how I feel about it. All right. So we'll set that aside for now. We're good to go with that. We've been through the initial application. Okay. Everybody seemed to be good with the questionnaire, which is available online and printable. We've been through the other documents. So the scope of work document that would be required in the full proposal, as well as the budget. We've been through that stuff. Any questions on those? Okay. So now the last piece that we have to discuss is this Dover Trails and Recreation approved projects. Okay. A lot of similar wording to what you're going to see in the proposed project. Sarah went through and made those changes to the rules to kind of explain how all those things fit together. You'll see there's a lot of red in this one. and it's a lot shorter, right? Because you've already been approved to move forward with your project. It's just about like what ED is looking for in terms of, you just kind of letting us know what's going on, progress, photos. We'd like to be able to share, especially for projects projects approved on town forest or being built with economic development money. It's important to us to kind of get like progress pictures of those projects so that we can say, here's some of the awesome things we're doing with that economic development money that everybody pays into. We think that that's, a good way for us to be sharing, not only that we're going to have these awesome recreational opportunities, but that we are, putting those dollars to good use. Does that make sense to everybody? But does anybody have any general questions about the approved projects document at this point?
Eric, I'll go with a question.
Sure, Mike.
How long do you think the turnaround time is going to be from somebody submitting to somebody getting approval? And does it go through this board or does it just go through you?
Nope. So it starts with me. I help any applicant or any proposal to kind of fine tune, questions that we might have. Realistically, you're talking, you could get all of this done in less than a month. You just need to time it correctly because the initial proposal comes into our office. We contact you immediately and say, here's what we have for questions. After we get through that, we say, okay, go ahead and put your full proposal together, which is that scope of work document and an estimated budget. Okay. From there, it would go into the Trails and Recreation Committee for review and questions. From there, the Trails and Recreation Committee makes their recommendation to the select board, and then we bring it to the next select board meeting after a trails meeting for approval, whether it's funding or just a project in general. We get that approval from the select board. So if it's done correctly, the process can take, realistically, if you had your proposal done and then your application done and then your proposal done pretty quickly, we get that to Trails and the select board, you're talking a week. But it's just gotta, you gotta be prepared with that information. You know what I'm saying? So it's really up to the applicant, how long it takes. I'm not talking like, this is a 3-month process to get a project approved. Like I want to see these projects approved in the same month. Okay. So it goes to me, then it goes to the Trails Committee, and then it goes to the select board. So if you know that the Trails Committee meets the second Tuesday of the month, then you just make sure that your stuff is to us for review prior to that so that we can give you feedback and you can get your proposal together for that Trails Committee for that second Tuesday. And then by the third Tuesday, hopefully we can have it in front of the select board. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Kristen, you had a question.
And just a comment, Eric, we're not talking about a huge number of projects either, or like, it's just things that abut town-owned properties like Rice Hill, like Horace Hill, like the Haystack Mount Snow Connector Trail. Are there other ones?
Even that, I don't know, because there are sections of that are town-owned. So like that's a discussion that's happening separately between the town and SOBTA as to what that classifies as and falls into. So I don't even know that we can tie that into these particular documents. So but yes, Horace Hill, the town forest, and any other future owned town-owned properties. Okay. So it's not a large number of projects, but it is, because those two spots are where the most work is potentially going to be happening here shortly. That's, we wanted to get, there was some comments, from a number of user groups saying, well, there's not really, you keep talking about the rules, but there's no rules. So these are the rules now, right? That's what these are intended to be. And again, I did not put any of this together to try to hinder projects or delay projects or keep things from getting done. It's actually the exact opposite. It's literally laid out there, and I've said this before, to help us follow what was outlined for us in the roadmap from Weston and Sampson. Okay. And these documents hold us accountable to follow we paid them money to tell us. Okay. Does that explain that? Awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Andy?
So, Eric, are you voting on these tonight? Is your idea to vote on these tonight?
I was hoping to, yeah. Did you have input or comments you wanted to make?
I was just curious. You just mentioned that you're talking with SOVTA to see if the Ridge mountain bike backcountry project would fall under these documents or
So I
not.
don't know. So I didn't know that I don't know that I meant that I'm speaking with SOVTA, because we haven't actually had that discussion about whether or not that project falls under these documents, because while the parking lot on the lower end is town owned, you know, we haven't established, you and I or with SOVTA, about whether or not that project would fall under these documents.
I understand. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I think, Eric, I'm sorry if I'm called on. Do I have the floor? Okay. Andy actually brings up an interesting point. The Ridge project, you know, the Somerset IRB rather, that's a good example. And I'm sure we're going to run into projects like that, where there might be 5 phases, 3 phases, 2 phases. And, you know, possibly these rules and the town will be involved in a phase 1. But I don't know if projects on that magnitude that are going to be done over a long period of time in many phases, we should be looking at them as like one whole project. Would you agree with that, Eric? Like, for instance, the parking lot is a project in itself, you know, and then there's phase 1, okay, according to the United States Forest Service, which is the bottom with the parking lot and the loop and, you know, kind of that lower grade walking, you know, trails. And then there's the glading zones and, you know, and from there. So you understand what I'm saying? Is that?
Yeah. And I think, Tommy, we're due here for a quarterly anyway, on the project. So I think this is not something that, you know, these documents are new since the last time that we all spoke.
Yep.
So it's not something that we've been able to discuss or make a determination on.
Okay.
So I think what I'd like to do, you know, as far as that project is concerned, is make that determination at our core, you know, just have that discussion at our quarterly meeting, you know, to kind of just figure all that out. Does that make sense?
Sounds good to me, Eric.
Okay. Andy, are you happy with that? Awesome. Okay. Mike Purcell.
Yeah, with regards to that, the point he was trying to make as far as being some of that being separate, I'd certainly would be on board with that notion of like the Ridge Trail itself being, you know, separate than the, you know, skiing zone. So I can see where when you do your quarterly, it'd be nice to identify something like that as being separate from the other parts.
Okay. Awesome. Appreciate the feedback, Mike. Okay. Any other thoughts, Tommy?
Do you, just because unfortunately I do we want to just speak to that real quick? Because I know Mike's had some questions and I had just sent you notes. Would this be a good time for that or no?
No, because I'm going to put that on the next, on the next agenda. It's in the upcoming meeting items is the Ridge Trail.
Very good.
So you can give us, you or whoever from SOVTA can make it to the next meeting, can give us an update on it at that point. Okay.
Terrific. I'll be at the next meeting. Thank you.
Awesome. Tommy, thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for your input. If you have any questions for me in the meantime, reach out and we'll touch base on a couple of meetings we got to set up at this point. Bye, Tommy. Okay. Shannon, we still have a quorum, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Um, so any more questions, any more comments, any more concerns? I'd really like to, Mike Purcell.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt these
Okay.
documents as amended.
Here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to make a motion that we make a recommendation to the select board.
Yes,
to
I would
adopt.
revise my motion to reflect that. I would like to call a vote to make a recommendation to the select board that they accept these documents as revised.
Okay. Do I have a second? I have a second from Kristen. Any additional comments or questions?
I did have some.
All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay, so these should be on the agenda for Tuesday as well. My board's going to be super happy with me because we got some lots of stuff to talk about Tuesday night. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I know that was kind of a tedious process, and it was very helpful to work through it with all of you because you all had good input and questions that led us to think about things that we may not have thought of initially. So I appreciate all of your help through that process. And I think, you know, because of the work we've done here, it should be an easy decision for the select board. So thank you very much. Okay. The only other thing that I have on the agenda, I'll get you out of here early tonight, is just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about at upcoming meetings. Our friend Mr. Purcell had reached out to me about the idea of rejuvenating what is known as the Ridge Race, correct? Is it the Ridge Race? Yeah, the Ridge Race. So starting either at Haystack, the Hermitage Club, or at Mount Snow, you know, climbing the face, crossing the ridge and coming down the other side, you know, and then, you know, connecting back. It's an event that was run previously. Mike, how long's it been?
It was mid 80s. It was all mid 80s. And this was actually sort of proposed to the U.S. Forest Service, but we can get into that later. But it's
Yeah, so what, that, like I said, it's on the upcoming agenda. So we'll hammer through it next meeting. Okay. So that's coming up. We're going to have Tommy kind of I'd like to have Tommy give us more of an in-depth, you know, kind of update on the conversations that, you know, the town and SOVTA has been having with the United States Forest Service in regard to the Ridge project, which includes the Ridge Trail proper. Okay. So that's part of the conversation. And then also on next month's agenda, we will be reopening the conversation about uses of user groups on Hathaway Trail. Okay. There's been a call for that conversation to be restarted and for us to present a recommendation to the select board sooner rather than later. So we would like to restart that conversation next meeting. If you know of anyone who would be involved in said conversation on Hathaway Trail, I'm currently trying to collect all of those contacts and reach out to them to let them know that this conversation is happening again. I know we had, you know, some concerned property owners along Hathaway Trail. I got a contact for Green Mountain Power. You know, make sure that we have all of our user groups there to kind of express their opinions on which direction they want to see things go. And then the group can have a discussion and the committee can make a decision on how they want to move forward. Okay, so on the next episode of Dover Trails and Recreation, that's what we got coming up. Okay, our next meeting, sorry, let me pull up my calendar here. I don't mean to in your face.
April 12th.
April 12th. Thank you so much, Shannon. April 12th, 6:30 p.m. We'll keep it via Zoom for now, just out of convenience until the governor says we have to be back in person. If that happens prior to that point, I will let you all know that there is a in-person option available. If you have any items you would like to see on the agenda for that meeting, please make sure that you have them to me by the Thursday prior. So basically that first week of April would be incredibly helpful to me. Okay. Patricia, I see you have your hand up.
Excuse me, I just had a quick question, and of course I left my whole envelope of Trails and Rec stuff at work. Is it called A-? And they have new property owners. I just wanted to ask about that, or is that like a can of worms?
No, it's not a can of worms. So after years, and then like that's not an exaggeration, of discussions with the owner of One Bogle Road, verbal commitment was made to us to sign the easement to allow the continuation of Valley Trail, the section known as A-. However, in the interim, the property has changed hands. So Fuss and O'Neill has been in contact with the new owners. I will be in contact with the new owners to try to fast track, that discussion so that it doesn't take additional years. We did receive a signature on an easement for Tollgate Plaza. That's Tollgate Plaza, right? Yep, thank you. Sorry, I get them mixed up sometimes. And then we are in the process of working through what it is that we're going to have to help the Kirstens out with to get, to make sure that they still have full use of their property when we run our bridge, on their property to continue the trail. So I apologize that I haven't had any updates for that on the agenda lately, but that is still going in the background. And the state is definitely making sure that we push that forward because it's been sitting for so long and they don't want to kick us off. And that's where Fuss and O'Neill comes in. So even though it might not be on Shannon and I's front burner, it definitely is on for Fuss and O'Neill. And that was the organization you guys picked to manage the project. So, they reach out to us with any questions or needs that they have on a pretty regular basis. And we're just trying to get all that moving forward as quickly as possible. So yes, it is still in the pipeline. And unfortunately, I don't have much more of an update than that, but as updates do arise, I'm happy to share them. If you have any questions in the interim, please contact me. I'm happy to chat about it. Okay. Anything else? 7:12. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mike makes a motion. Do I have a second? Awesome. Patricia seconds. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for working through this stuff with us. We will see you all next month.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.